The strategies and systems you implement in your life work until they stop working. Hey lady, are you ready to let go of all of your excuses of why you can't feel alive and energized while raising your family? Or maybe, because I know you are, a secret trailblazer who doesn't want to buy into the current culture of motherhood that preaches self-sacrifice, chronic fatigue, and pumping your veins with wine and coffee just to get through your day. This is the exact reason why I created the Mom is in Control Mastery and Soul Elite coaching programs. In my former life as a social worker, I was working with challenging behaviors every day, only to realize I had my own at home, which led me to discover mindfulness and conscious parenting. But it wasn't until almost 6 years ago when I was stopped dead in my tracks and had to completely redefine who I believed I was as a mother and a woman. I bought into the cultural illusion that my wants, needs, and desires didn't matter. And because of this, I almost died. December 21st, 2013, I was diagnosed with a stage 4 rapid growing cancer. I had no choice. I had to change. And since then, I've been coaching women all around the world, helping them create sustainable lives and relationships, feeling in control from the inside out. Are you ready to take your personal or professional life to the next level? Then I want to hear from you. I want you to head on over to momisincontrol.com and fill out that application today. And if you need another great reason to join me this month, stay tuned after the podcast as I will be sharing some added bonuses for those who take quick action. You are 100% in control of how you want to feel in your life, and you have the courage to do it. Hey ladies, I'm back. Okay, today's Monday, and I always like to share interviews with you on Monday, and today I decided to do an interview with my husband, Bryan Chauvin, and talk about investing in yourself. All this week, I'm going to be showcasing the who, what, when, where, why of my coaching program, my mastery coaching program. But I didn't want this week to be all about my coaching program. I wanted it to be of value to you as well. I wanted it to be of service to you and where you are in your own personal development journey. So a lot of people actually don't even know what coaching is. I get a lot of questions, people, saying, I've been going to therapy for years and, it should work, or I want something different. And I used to be a therapist, and I think there is a time and a place for therapy, but I also know you can get quicker results shifting your mindset. So think of it this way. All systems work until they stop working. I think about how I run my household, how I run my business, my nutrition, my exercise program, my marriage, my parenting strategies. Everything changes. We can't just pick one thing and stick with it for the rest of our lives. We have to think about it and go, is this still working for me? You are a person that is constantly evolving. Even during this conversation, you are evolving and changing on a cellular level. So if we are not evolving and changing, and if our life isn't changing, then we become out of alignment. But traditional kind of thought process tells us, like, you go to school, you learn something, you get a job, you're done. And that's not really how the soul works. That's not how we work as humans. So for all of you listening to this podcast, you're most likely a forward-thinking individual. You think outside the box, you enjoy personal development, or you're getting into personal development, and you want to know how to find happiness, how to feel energized, how to feel on purpose, how to stop yelling, how to live an abundant life. And so, yes, there are many, many aspects of this. There's mindset, there's strategy, there's action. Action is a big one, action and implementation. There's discomfort, there's focus. There's so many different things that we need to do in our life. And I will tell you, there is 110%, yes, I'm 110% confident that there is a way that you can feel in alignment in your life, wake up going, I'm excited about today, and fall asleep going, I did enough today. I was productive. Not only productive, even if you weren't quote unquote productive, you feel confidence that you are enough for that day. But in order to get there, you got to do the work. What does that mean? You have to show up every day for the hard shit. You have to take action, and you don't need to do this in a way where you're going to burn yourself out. So today we're going to be talking to Bryan, and I asked him some basic questions about investing in yourself. And investing in yourself, I don't mean money, because as you will hear what he said, financial, what am I trying to say? His financial objection. For men, it's very easy. And if you are a man listening to this, you might be like, don't stereotype us. So I am stereotyping right now. But if you have the provider and, money is a big objection for them, there's ways to work around that, because it's not always about the money. There's something else behind it. There can be a lot of fear. There could be a lot of judgment. There could be a lot of what ifs? What does this mean? There could be trust. So Bryan and I talk more about that. So when you want to invest in yourself, whether it's time, money, or energy, and your partner doesn't understand why, it's not your responsibility to convince them why. It's your responsibility to communicate why you need this. So in this episode, we also dive a little bit deeper into what coaching is, how it's very different than therapy, and why it might be exactly what you've been looking for, and a whole bunch of other things. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say on today's topic, and I will be talking more and more about the Mastery Program and coaching in general, and hopefully give you some value so that, if it's not with me, there's something else in your life that you've been wanting to invest in, again, whether it's financial or a time commitment, then I highly, highly suggest you stay tuned this week. All right, ladies, let's dive in. Okay, ladies, we're back. And today I have a special guest for you. Who is he? Bryan Chauvin, the one and only, who is also the founder of Dad is in Control, which is the Dad is in Control podcast, which is pretty much how I figure out what is going on in your brain. Right?
Well, there you have it.
Right. I just listen to your podcast so that I know what you're thinking and processing.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Glad to be back.
I know you've been on how many times? 2?
3?
2 or 3?
Maybe. Yeah.
So memorable. I don't know. Okay. So this week I wanted to talk about coaching and creating a lasting transformation in your life. I realized, and you and I have many conversations about this, because as you grow, you don't realize that people don't know what you know, right? And coaching is actually very new to people. And a lot of people think they don't understand the difference between maybe traditional therapy and coaching, and how we ultimately create a lasting transformation in our lives, whether it's our mindsets, whether it's your financial situation, business growth, or in parenting, because I love helping people feel really successful in their home and in all aspects of their life. But it's not just about talking about the problem. It's about doing something about the problem. So I like having you on, and I wanted to dive deeper into the conversation about women who desire change in their life. And then when they go and talk about this with their husband, all the water gets really muddy and murky, and he might not be on board, or he might not understand what's going on. So I thought you could be a voice for that today.
Yeah, and sometimes I think the wife doesn't paint the proper picture for maybe why she wants to do this, why she wants to move forward. Mm-hmm. And maybe because she's a little bit afraid, maybe because she doesn't really understand what desire is going on inside of her. But I think that having a different perspective may help you understand that the conversations that we had prior to you signing up for your coaching.
Okay, so you're saying she has to be very clear on how she communicates her wants and desires to him if she is asking, like, hey, I want to join this program. And guys, I'm not talking about mastery, but it's any program. And it doesn't even have to be coaching, right? Like, say you're like, I want to go back to school, or I want to make this investment in myself. And it doesn't even need to be financial. It could also be time and energy. You're saying she needs to be clear on why she wants this and communicate that to him.
Well, I think that definitely helps, because what happens is if she can't clearly communicate why, if she's not physically able to put it out there, then he's going to get doubts, and he may not get behind it because he may not understand how important it is to her.
So what do you do if okay, so a lot of times women come to me and they can have a fabulous relationship. Like, their marriage could be great, and that's not their pain point. That's not why they're coming, right? Sometimes they come and there is a disconnect or disengagement in the marriage and the relationship. So when you're asking somebody to make a declaration and they're really uncomfortable and they're going to do that to their husband, they're going to fumble many, many times. And so what you're saying is, if I come to you for something and I have no clarity and our relationship is kind of on the rocks, then that just kind of triggers your doubt and your fears as well.
Yeah, well, whether we're talking about a monetary investment or a time investment or whatever, it's ultimately going to make me doubt that the time that you're spending isn't going to be worth it. Mm-hmm. And you may not be getting what you need. And there's going to be added stress on me as the other half of the partnership. While she's away, while she's doing this thing that she's not committed to, I have to now take care of the kids more, clean the house. I have to pick up the slack for the rest of it while she's gone. And I know I said that and you're looking at me like I'm going to get shot, but
could you see that on my face?
Oh yeah. But what I'm trying to portray is, like, while the other half partner's out of the house, there's more for one person to do, whether it's male or female. That's what I was trying to say.
Right. So let's talk about that. How do you, okay, so there is this, I don't even know if you're aware of this, but there's this, everyone loves fucking labels. There's this label out there or concept called co-parenting. And I've heard women say it before that, oh, my husband and I co-parent, which apparently is a newer statement because it's always traditionally been the woman's role to parent and the father's role or male provider or second partner to be the provider, right? There is typical roles are one is dominant with the parenting, and the other one is more dominant in, financial providing. Like, that's kind of how society used to be, right? Like, the men go out and hunt, and the women stay at home and take care of the homestead. So that doesn't work for everyone anymore, right? And I always say, you have to live in alignment with how you want to feel. So if I was a stay-at-home mom at points, correct?
True. Like,
we've gone kind of full circle where when we started our relationship, I already had a child, and then I was in school, but I was in school, full or part-time, but I stayed home. And then we had the other two boys and I was home a lot, and you were the one working. And then as evolution, like, our relationship and our roles have changed. The reason why I'm saying this is because I am more happy and content working and making a difference rather than doing all the domesticated roles.
Right.
And I think a lot of women force themselves into this box of, like, this is my job, and if I don't do it this way, then I'm a failure. So can we talk a little bit about your expectation as a partner? Like, what do you expect from me? Like, what do you want and desire for me? And if I'm like, hey, can I do this? And it's $1 million, and you're like, oh my God, Heather, like, how are we going to make that happen? What do you ultimately want for me or a partner?
Okay. So I'm going to rewind back to,
I know I just said a lot.
Our previous selves, back when you first started your journey. Mm-hmm. when you first asked about getting an investment for yourself, which was significant investment, your first one.
It was $1,000.
I remember it being much more than that. Regardless, the conversation came up with
which
me,
is significant. $1,000 is a lot, but yeah.
Which came up to me, and at the time, the money was my objection.
Right.
It wasn't with respect to follow through. It was just, hey, right now, I don't have this. But if you can find the money somehow, go for it. Because you're not a person to tap out. You're not a person to just invest and not follow through. You're very stubborn like that.
I never knew that of myself. To be honest, I thought I was someone who, I feel like I'm someone who starts things and doesn't finish them.
Only cleaning. But besides that.
Yeah, cleaning. And dinner.
Yeah. So where I was going with this was the first time you asked about this, that was my objection. You brought this to me. You said, I have this desire to do this, something going on inside me. And I could feel that because you brought it to me and you had done your homework. You knew exactly what it was. You knew where you were going. You couldn't tell me why you wanted this, but I could feel that
because I didn't know why at that time.
Right. But you communicated that to me. Mm-hmm. The only objection was money, but you found the money, you made it work. And boom, it didn't affect our living and actually paid for itself in dividends very quickly.
Okay, but that was a low entry point. So what if it's 10x that and you're like, Heather, we might have to like remortgage our house in order to make that happen. And I'm not talking about, I'm not really, okay, the reason why I say that, we don't need to remortgage our house in any investment that I've made in myself. But the reason why I say that is because sometimes investments will make people uncomfortable. And then there's a point where people just shut down and they're like, that's not happening. That's equivalent to a new car. That's equivalent to our family vacation. What happens then when you're like, there's no effing way that we can make this happen, Heather? And there's no effing way that I could do it without, you.
There's a trust factor there. Excuse me. So I remember one time you told me how much one of these masterminds or whatever programs that you were buying costed. And typically for me, it wasn't about the money because I seen the value after the first one.
Right.
But it was a substantial amount. I can't remember if it was $10,000 or something of the sorts. And it was like, I've never invested that much in myself beyond like school and even with school. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was like, holy crap, this is a shit ton of money. And what are we going to get out of this?
Right.
But again, when you brought it to me, you said, this is something I want to do. And you explained your reasonings behind it. And we had discussions and we moved forward. And we moved forward just I have faith in you. Right? There's a trust. I trust that you're...
But what if somebody what if there's such a disconnect in their marriage that he doesn't have faith in her or partner A doesn't have, faith in partner B?
I suppose that depends on the relationship. I suppose it depends on what happened in the past, the reason why there's no trust. Because whether it's maybe you have a track record of investing in these things and not following through.
Right.
Maybe it's justified. I can't speak for that. But all I could say is if the female, the mother, the father, whoever is looking to invest is actually serious, they need to prove that this is something they want. They need to create the change. They need to make this happen. If there's a trust issue in the house, maybe this is going to help bridge that gap.
You're making a good point because I often say to people, the coaching or the transformation. So we'll talk about that, but coaching is a transformational process. Like you're not just like one and done talking about the problem, putting a Band-Aid on it. You're getting to the root cause, which is really uncomfortable. So sometimes people fill out an application, for mastery, and that starts the coaching process for them. Sometimes it's asking, sometimes it's like, the actual investment. But I always say what you resist will persist and get bigger, right? It's an itch. It's going to turn into a scratch. The scratch is going to turn into an open wound. It's going to get infected. And oftentimes in our relationships, we don't know what is off or out of alignment. But when you start declaring what you want in your life, that's when things will show up. So you're like, hey, this is a non-negotiable for me. I need to make magic happen. Like, I could see divorce and all of these like catastrophes happening in the future if shit doesn't change now, right? So you say yes. First sign you realize, what is the trust factor in our relationship? Oh, he doesn't trust me. Okay, I got to work on that, right? But let's just say you back off and you're like, nope, my husband said there's no fucking way this is happening. Nope, 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 nope. We can't make it happen. How are you going to repair that trust in your marriage? Just go on your merry way for decades to come until you both die or do whatever, until what you resist persists and get bigger. It's an opportunity to be like, great. The first wound that I get to heal. Right?
Yes.
I will never forget. This is when people look at me and they're like, Heather, you must be this happy, you must have been this like happy, positive person all the time.
I'm not going to talk about the dancing that just happened upstairs.
I know.
Anyway.
We've been together for 12-ish years, 12 and a half years. I was an effing disaster when we met.
That is like, I don't think people really understand, like, going to a grocery store and particular triggers that happen.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't even be out in public.
Calling me crying and then pushing me away. And it was just like not long ago where you told me, I think I finally let you in.
Yeah. That was yesterday. I told you that.
Right. I didn't want to say that.
I just realized I have the visual in my mind. I remember I had like piles of clothes when I was living in my mom's basement with Logan. Piles of clothes, wet towels. And I just kept piling my clothes because I couldn't even clean up after myself.
Yeah.
And when I moved them, there was ants under them.
Yeah.
That's how fucking depressed I was. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
I felt so heavy with things on my shoulders and my back and life that I didn't know how to let it go. And I went to therapy. I was very open to this stuff. I went to therapy and then I got a degree in social work. And here's the thing. What is the difference between that? Because you've experienced some coaching as well, and you've experienced therapy as well, or like talking it out, right? So tell me, in your perspective, I've definitely invested in myself more than you, which is fine. But tell me your perspective from like talking about the problem versus like a coaching transformational experience.
So in certain respects, talking about the problem exposes the problem.
Right. It's needed. But you don't go to the dentist if your foot is broken. Right. And that's my perspective from coaching versus therapy.
But you asked me.
I know.
So in my opinion, going to therapy exposed and shined a flashlight on something that was way in the past. The problem is that happened 15 years ago. Now, me as a man, I have to figure out how this is taking place in my everyday life. What's going on in my everyday life? How is this affecting me? And physically making a strategy and implementing a change. But that change isn't easy, and sometimes you don't know what it is or how to do it, which is why you get a mentor, or in this case, a coach or a program that'll expose these things to you and help you reshape and reform and move forward rather than backwards. Because you can look backwards all day long. Problem is, you're just going to run into a wall. You're not, if you're looking backwards too much, you're not moving forwards. You're just living in the past.
So let's talk about, so the one coaching transformation or experience that you had was when you did, it was like an immersion that you did, and it was like a week long. So you can't run away and hide, right? And it was a very physical immersion. Like you did a lot of like journaling and mindset stuff, but then there was also, it was like that in action, right? So talk about the like going up the hill and like up and down the hill where it's like you can't run and hide from it. Like that to me is the coaching process. Like that is where transformation actually happens, when you're pushing yourself. I'm not about hustle and killing yourself, but pushing yourself beyond what you thought was possible to achieve what your soul is craving.
Yeah. So we were in Ladera Ranch, California, going up and down this hill we call, I'm not even going to say, I'm just going to call it that fucking hill. But
what was it? So you invested in a coach, and It was like an immersion. Did you want to invest in this coach?
I was looking to invest in a coach, and who I thought was the right one popped his head up and exposed himself for what he really was. And it made me change my mind.
Right.
And then maybe a month later, you brought this gentleman to my attention, and this guy's message really resonated with me.
I know they're going to ask me who it is, so can you just say his name?
His name is Setema Gali.
So how do you spell Setema? Setima?
Setema, I believe.
Setema. Gali. And he has a few books that are probably on Amazon or something. Okay, go ahead.
So part of this immersion was a very physical aspect of it. And this one that we're talking about is the hill. And the hill was meant to teach us low gear. So we're going up and down this hill.
What does low gear mean?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
So we were going up and down this hill. I don't know how big it was, but it seemed like it took forever. And we were carrying a 40-pound sandbag. We could not put the sandbag down, and we could not stop until they said it was done. And you had to go up and down, and you couldn't drop the sandbag, and you couldn't stop. You had to continue moving. And it wasn't about how fast you went. It was just about continue to move. And so the way they explain this to us is a 4x4 truck. You shift it into low gear, and you just keep inching forward. You just keep moving forward, monitoring, going and going and going and going. And they would play games with us, whereas one coach at the top of the hill, one coach at the bottom of the hill, the coach at the bottom of the hill, and the coach at the top of the hill would start walking closer to each other. Oh, we must be getting done. It must end soon. And then the next lap around, they were further and further apart. And it was just like that. And I think it was about 3 hours we went around this track.
Wow.
Up and down and up and down and up and down.
And it wasn't a sprint. It was like a marathon, like take your time, and you didn't know when it was going to be over.
And they would, when we got to the top of the hill, if we needed it, he would splash water on us. It was hot. We were in the Ladera Ranch. But in the trick, what he was trying to teach us is you can push through. You just have to find your low gear, and there's no finish line. You just keep breaking through these barriers, just keep moving through. And you can hear him shouting in the bullhorn, shouting your name, keep moving, keep moving. And, I forgot to mention, when I was there was 20 other guys, and there was no talking. We weren't allowed to talk to each other on this path. So we couldn't root each other. We were basically suffering in silence. But the last little bit, they gave us the permission to talk to each other. And all of a sudden you start seeing these guys that were grueling, and some of them vomiting, falling, starting to smile. Just with that little connection, with that little bit of encouragement, that little bit of help. And it was awful, but it was very, very cool experience at the same time.
So I remember, the number one question I get, it's one when you, man, woman, whoever you are, want to make an investment. Like there's a part of you that wants change, and you find, the program or mentor or coach that you want to work with. And you then have to have the courage to have that conversation, to let people know what you're up to. And you have to be open to rejection. If your partner is like, that's not going to work, we can't make it happen, you have to keep having those uncomfortable conversations, right? Of course, every partnership is going to be different. The number one question that I receive from women is how do I get my partner on board with personal development or conscious parenting? So I talk a lot about conscious parenting. That's why a lot of people find me. But there's also this like personal development aspect, right? Becoming a better version of you. And sometimes their partners are just not open to it. So what is your perspective of that? Because you and I are very different people when it comes to personal development. And you were not always this person. So let me, just answer that question. If you're just starting out and your husband or partner is not on board.
It's not going to be easy to convince a closed mind person at first. It's having a conversation. The thing that really made me aware of how closed-minded and how lost I truly was when you asked me what I was passionate about. And I think it took about 3 days for me to answer. Legitimately took about 3 days to answer, because I myself thought...
I'm still waiting for that answer.
Well, thank you. I was lost in myself. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't imagine you moving forward and leaving me in the dust. And what happens when you get up this mountain? Are you going to search for somebody else? Are you going to leave me? All of these insecurities start floating around? But the insecurities are nothing to do with you. It's all my own stuff. It's all my own crap in my head.
So this is a thing though. So a lot of women, I have no issue with it, but a lot of women don't like to trigger other people or their partners, right? I trigger you probably on a daily basis. Let's be honest.
Honestly, multiple times a day.
Okay. Oh, good to know. Really?
Yeah.
Did I trigger you today already?
Probably.
It's only 1:00.
Yeah. Anyway.
I did? You don't even tell me anymore, do you?
No.
Okay. Is trigger, does it mean, okay, let's reframe trigger to challenge. How many times do I challenge you a day?
Oh my gosh.
A lot.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm a driver in my head. Personality type, I'm like the dreamer. That's what I am. I'm the dreamer, right? And I want to make my dreams come true. I just like think outside the box. You are the...
What am I?
Dream crusher.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm just kidding. What are you?
I don't know.
You're the more practical person. Yes?
I could see that, yes.
Okay. So, which is great. I often think, wow, if I was married to myself, like that would be annoying as heck. So here's the thing. We challenge each other. You challenge me a lot as well.
I try to.
You do. You call me out on my stuff, which is fabulous. I ask for it now. At the beginning, I did not like that, but I love it now. But you also teach me like the slowing down. You teach me what do you teach me? What do you tell me?
We have complementary knowledge.
Yeah, I think it's really, really good. You're very supportive in that sense. But what do you do? Okay, do you think, this is the question that I want you to answer. If a woman says yes to pursuing her best self, the life that she wants, and she's afraid that she's going to lose her partner, right? I still have a little bit of fear there. And I communicate it to you all the time. Like, if I grow, if I do this, if I do that, like, I feel like you're going to leave me. That means you have to come. That's just me being controlling. And then I have to manage that story within myself. And you've reassured me over and over again, that's not going to happen. But we can't even predict the future, right? Like, we don't know what tomorrow's going to happen. But what do you say to that woman's like, I'm so determined for change and my husband or partner is not? Do you say to her, girl, I'm sure you wouldn't say girl, but like, go after what you want. He will eventually crack open. Or do you say, don't move, keep him safe? Like, what do you say to her?
Well, I don't, and using myself as a driver in this situation, I don't want to ever hold a person back. In my perspective, money was my was my objection. But when you eliminated that objection, you said, fine, I'll get the money somewhere else. That eliminated my objection. In that case, I want you to grow. I want you to be better. And that made you happier. So in a roundabout way, I'm saying, become happy. To thine own self be true. It's a song that my dad always used to play when I was a kid that drove me nuts. But it's true. You have to take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, usually there's children that are watching, and your children are growing because they're watching you become better. They're watching you take care of yourself.
So what do you say to that woman, though, that has nothing to do with money? She wants her partner on board with conscious parenting so that he's not, or she's not, screaming and yelling at the children and punishing and taking things away all the time. And she's like, hey, I'm just trying to, create a more peaceful household. And he's so triggered from how he was parented, and he refuses to look at that. What do you say to her?
You just have to lead by example. You just have to do it. And sometimes if he's not willing to hear the conversation or have the conversation, he'll see it in an area. Maybe it's at the hockey arena or at the mall or the grocery store or in your living room when there's company over. Maybe something will happen and he'll physically see it and he'll clue in, and all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, it actually works.
So what has your parenting journey been like?
A roller coaster. It's been up and down. There's been a lot of different learning opportunities, and I'm far from perfect. But the one thing I learned about myself is when I started catching my own bullshit, my bullshit didn't get projected onto the kids as much. I didn't expect things from them. And when I expected things, I communicated that expectation. And then when they were screaming and hollering, I tried to listen to them rather than...
And how did you learn this?
From watching you.
Yeah.
100%.
How many times how many arguments... We don't really, about parenting, we don't get in arguments anymore, but previous, let's go back a few years, right? It wasn't that, I started my business and we had this perfect parenting relationship. It didn't work like that. It was just years of trial and error, role modeling, all of that. But we used to have conflict about this a lot.
Even after you wouldn't interject, even after I got done yelling at one of the kids, you'd pull me aside and you'd try to tell me, and I didn't want to hear it. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to hear it, but water on the rock, it just kept dropping water on the rock. And eventually it started sinking in that whatever the fuck I'm doing wasn't working.
Right.
It was separating us further, my relationships further from the kids and from you. Mm-hmm. I was driving everyone away unintentionally.
Right.
I had the right intentions, but you know what they say, the path to hell is paved with good intentions.
I didn't know they say that.
Yeah.
What do you say to the woman who's like, okay, I know what I want. I need to pull the trigger. I need to do this. My husband is 100% not on board, but I know that I need to be the change I want to see in my family and in my life, and I'm going to go for it.
Do it. Without a doubt, do it. Most of the time, if you're a go-getter, if you really want this, if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to make the change, I feel like his perspectives will change after he starts seeing you change. After he starts seeing you become happier, more sure of yourself, taking actions, maybe you're becoming fitter, or you're screaming less, or you're drinking less wine, or you're reading more, or whatever's lighting you up. When he sees that version of you, it'll bring him back to the person that he actually married. Bring him back to the happiness, that point in their life.
Awesome. Anything else you want to say?
This can be a very hard conversation to have with someone. And it can be very troubling to have a conversation about wanting to invest in yourself. Whether it's a book, a class, a time, a fitness app, whatever. Mm-hmm. Just remember, the person you're sitting across from is the person that you decided to marry. At one point in time was your best friend. You need to have this partnership. You need to have these conversations. Because if you won't, he won't.
That's a good one. If you won't, he won't. Awesome. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed today's podcast and it inspired you to take action. I cannot stress enough the importance of action and implementation. Too often I hear women saying they read all the books, they go to all of the workshops, and we listen to all of the podcasts, but we're not taking that daily action needed in order to create transformation in our lives. And you've also heard me say before, or maybe you haven't, the importance of mentorship. That is why I created the Mastery and Soul Elite coaching programs. So ladies, I'm going to announce the 2 bonuses that I am offering from now and throughout May, because officially we kick off the programs in June. So the sooner you start, the sooner you gain access to these bonuses. So here they are. Number 1, the sooner you apply, the sooner you start. You can potentially gain a whole additional month of me, all of the other women in the group, our guest teachers, access to the content, and more time to create this long-lasting transformation in your life. This in itself is $100 value. Fuck no. It is a $800 value. Not sure why I said $100. It's an $800 value. So what you have to do is head on over to momisincontrol.com and fill out the application process there. Once you fill out the application, you're going to be immediately sent to a calendar to get on the call with one of my team members to do your introductory call, to make sure that my coaching, this process, is in alignment with the support that you're seeking. Once you do that, if it's a perfect fit, you'll get on the phone with me, we'll chat a little bit, and if it's great, then I'll get you registered. And once you register, you have immediate access to the curriculum. So again, bonus number 1, $800 value. The sooner you apply, the sooner you start. And number 2, this is my favorite. So we have the second part is, the second bonus is a 2-parter. So we have the Conscious Parenting Implementation Program. This alone is $100. Why do I keep saying $100? It's a $1,500 value. So this is something I am not offering outside of Mastery or Soul Elite. This is only within the community. So too often I see parents come in, they're overwhelmed, everything feels out of control, and their children's behavior is a big trigger for them. So we're actually creating a little incubator where we're going to hold your hand step by step through the process to make sure that you are effectively implementing and taking action on these conscious parenting strategies in your home so you can de-escalate these behaviors ASAP. This is something I've never offered inside of Mastery before. It's an additional support. We are only offering it this round when we start back up in June. So again, head on over to momisincontrol.com, fill out your application, and get that added bonus today. And for those of you who find yourself wanting support with business and life, we are offering a business accelerator. So this is an incubator program as well, where we're going to be walking step by step, hand-holding people, creating more ease, sustainability, profitability, because why not have a profitable business? There's all of these strategies that I've learned building my very successful business and brand online, but you don't need to be an online coach or brand in order to gain value from this. So the beauty of this is we're going to have small little incubators, where you're getting that attention from me. You're going to get attention from other coaches in my network that can help you accelerate and up-level your business. And the values are all about sustainability, profitability, and ease. So this isn't building a business in a box. This is truly about helping you create the business that works for you and your family's needs, and also helping you seal some of those energy leaks. So this in itself is a $3,500 value that you are going to gain access to this round when you join, if you join Soul Elite. But first, you have to head on over to momisincontrol.com, fill out the application. And what you're going to notice there is that it's one application for both programs. It's two different types of levels, or not two different types of levels. It's a two-parter. So level 1 is mastery and level 2 is soul elite. Soul elite is mastery is included in soul elite, but it's for two different types of women seeking two different things. So all you have to do is fill out your application. Based on your application, we can kind of tell which type of experience, coaching, transformation you're seeking. And then once you get on the phone with my team member, she will go over the program details with you. It's that simple. Head on over to momisincontrol.com, fill out the application. You have nothing to lose. I'd rather you fill out the application and get feedback from us that it's not a good fit than sit there, struggle in isolation. Change is possible. If you feel connected and called to take the leap, just know we all don't do this by ourselves. I have a team around me. I have a village, and it started with asking for help from one person.